just maybe start with some housekeeping. If anyone has questions as I'm going through any of the content here today, please feel free to shoot a quick note in chat, and I'd be happy to answer questions that you have. You can either send them to all panelists, which would be just coming to myself, or to all attendees. So please definitely participate in that way with questions. And just really excited to be on today. I hope everyone's having a great time at the Event and Arena Marketing Conference this year. I know it's virtual and people are certainly ready to meet in person again here soon. So hopefully you are all getting a lot out of this 3 days of content and can continue to network and connect after this event as well. And looking forward to having you attend next year too. So thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be supporters of the conference this year here with Sportsdigita. And what I'm going to do today is I'd really love just to share a little bit kind of about us so that you guys know who the heck is up here talking in front of you. My name is Christy Grady Murray, and I'm our EVP of Business Development here at Sportsdigita. I've been here for just over 5.5 years, but I do come from the team and venue side of things. So I was with the Seahawks and Sounders for 8.5 years and worked very closely with the staff at CenturyLink Field, now Lumen Field, and also had an opportunity to work in Denver at Kroenke Sports. So it was Pepsi Center, which is now Ball Arena, and also Dick's Sporting Goods Park, along with all the teams at those venues. So very familiar with our industry and really excited to be on with many of you, some of whom I may have crossed paths with throughout my career. So thanks again, you guys, for joining. And just to give you a little bit of background on Sportsdigita, we do work with a number of venues of all different sizes throughout the country. And I think, that combined with all of our sports and enterprise partners that we work with have really helped us to continue to evolve. And, especially during the pandemic, we were really pushed to figure out ways to help our current partners and also generate new relationships to see how we could help people with their virtual communications kind of during the pandemic, but then also coming out of the pandemic, and how could we help people become more efficient and effective at their communication. So today, kind of just so you guys have a sense of what I'm going to cover, I'll just talk a little bit about kind of the state of the state, kind of what is our industry looking like right now, along with how, what the importance is of empowering your venue audiences. So potential attendees, potential, promoters who are going to be booking events with you. How can we empower them to gain information to help shorten maybe that event sales cycle or other communications that you're having with them, along with just the tech stack overall and how much technology has really come into play in our industry. And it was there before, but I think now it's just definitely much more at the forefront. So really excited to share a little bit about kind of the tech stack and what we use here, but also kind of what we're seeing out in the industry. And then our new reality, right? We all need to be more flexible in the way we're approaching our business and how we're going to achieve our objectives. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then I'll finish up with some Q&A at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. It would be helpful first just to kind of acknowledge during COVID, there was no in-person meetings. There were no flights, just as you all know, right? And everybody relied heavily on virtual meetings, whether that be through Zoom, through Teams, through DigiDeck Live, through just a computer, email conversations, or via the phone. So I think that is really the reality from during the COVID-19 pandemic. But then coming out of the pandemic, yes, we are going to be meeting with people in person again, and we can't wait for that to happen. And many of the venues that are attending this conference, you guys are hosting live events now again, and you're hosting meetings with fans and other events with attendees, which is fantastic. People are able to get on airplanes and go to different meetings and events throughout the country and really throughout the globe. But in addition to those two, we're still going to have virtual meetings. We're still going to be communicating via email and other methodologies. And how can technology really help us to be most efficient and effective at all of these means of communication? So our new reality is just, what is that hybrid role between in-person meetings and events versus that virtual communication? And kind of how important it is to establish relationships with people even before you meet them in person. And that virtual connection really can help with that. And that's what we're hearing from a lot of our partners across industries, not just in the sports and venue space or sports and event space, but just in industry overall. So I think that's a good kind of segue into this digital interaction piece. And this McKinsey study that was done back in April of 2020 was showing traditional sales interactions were really more in person, right? In-person meetings, in-person events versus those digital or virtual interactions. And now when you look at this and see post-COVID, yes, those in-person meetings are important, but so many sales conversations and deals are being done and venues being booked and other things all through virtual communication. And that's here to stay. I think as we kind of set the stage of where we are today, it's really this combination of in-person plus these virtual interactions. So, there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. And we want to make sure that nobody loses sight of the importance of that virtual interaction for your process. So kind of leading into one of my first points is really just about empowering your audiences, whether that be attendees, so general ticket buyers or event buyers, or it's also kind of empowering those promoters or others that might be looking to host larger events at your venue. So I think the biggest thing, just big picture overall, is people don't want to be sold to. They want to be able to kind of create their own experience, and they want to do the research ahead of time. I mean, everyone knows people first are going to go to the internet and see, what can I learn about this venue, what the options are. So it's kind of this combination of giving them enough information to kind of create a bit of interest and create their own experience, but then also getting them through that sales cycle faster because they've had that exposure. So that exposure you're giving them needs to be top notch. And, there are people, you can see here with these stats, with 88% of consumers conducting research online before they're making a purchase. So it's what kind of guided selling can we do? What kind of a guided experience can we create? And, we have a tool we call Custom Showroom here that allows for people to fill out a form, and based on the way they've answered questions, they get their own experience. They have a follow-up piece of material that comes to them that is specific to what they've indicated they're interested in. So those are things that could really help in the event and venue space. Think about, if you ask someone a question of what type of event are you interested in, what number of attendees, and that could narrow down what content your team is following up with them on. So depending on what locations, what availability is, and really understanding that consumer ahead of time and sending them information that's going to be relevant for what they're looking to accomplish versus just a blanket presentation that covers everything, or a blanket piece of content that covers everything. So I think the other piece is that 95% of buyers are going to choose a vendor who really provides them with that appropriate content ahead of time. So not just the general overview, but really targeted information that speaks to their needs. So really understanding your buyers, whether that's through your marketing automation tools you might be using, through digital interactions that you have, really gathering as much data and research and information about your audience as you can so that you can provide content that's relevant and that is personalized to them, and really understanding who they are from a persona perspective. And then the last piece here is really around the referral piece. And so how can you provide your contacts or partners who have purchased, hosted events at your venue, or come to you for different things that they might want to have at your arena, that it's empowering them with content that you're going to feel really comfortable that they can forward that on to their contacts and really open that network that they might have. So those referrals are really important, and it's empowering those referral customers that you have with information that's going to be very beneficial for them to share with others who might be interested in hosting something at your venue. So I thought it would be helpful to share a couple of quick things of, again, how are you empowering your audience to really understand your venue and what the potential experience could be. And this is just an example. This is dropping a 360 pano. This happens to be at the San Diego Padres, their outfield experience here, the San Diego beach here you see. And this is showcasing a pregame shot of this space, just to really give people a sense of, okay, this is what my hospitality location would be like. This is how close I would be to the outfielder that's standing right there. And if I wanted to zoom in a bit, I can. So allowing them to kind of experience your venue without coming down and seeing it in person. Because let's face it, there's people with headquarters all over the country. So they might not be in your city, but they're hosting a large event in your city. This is a way for those executives who are the decision makers to be able to get a sense of the experience and make a decision without needing to even come into the city to view that location. So another piece, and I'm going to go ahead and jump out of this presentation quickly, is I wanted to share, we work with US Bank Stadium, and I pulled up, thanks to Ann Dunn for approving my ability to share this with you. I thought it would be helpful to kind of showcase this, some of the locations within their venue. So if I jump here to the Mystic Lake Club Purple, you'll see this is a really nice way to provide a good overview of a venue space. I don't have to go through 5 or 6 slides of content. I have one piece of information. It's showing me these beautiful venue images. Plus, it's giving me the content I need over here on the left as far as capacity, the rent, the food and beverage minimum, but it also has this ability to provide a video tour of the space. So I know they recently launched some new videos really providing a great view of the space and what the opportunity is in Club Purple. So you can see here, it's just showcasing the space. This is set to sound, which I know you can't hear on this particular communication, but it gives a good sense of the venue location, again, without needing to go there in person. So a lot of opportunity to do that. And they showcase a number of their different locations. I could jump to the Delta Sky Club, same type of situation. So it's a really dynamic way to showcase opportunities for potential buyers and potential event hosts. So I think kind of that's leading into how are you empowering people once they're coming through your venue? And we're in a new reality. We're in a touchless environment. So how can we provide a real touchless experience for the attendees at our venue, whether that be through these mobile ticketing solutions here, that's a good example, or virtual venue, kind of like that panel that I shared earlier of the Padres. To think about a virtual venue and being able to see what the view is from specific seating locations or hospitality locations for someone. In addition to that mobile app experience, so if someone's coming to a concert at your venue, what do they need to know ahead of time? So I think, you know, one of the key pieces here is also kind of this touchless payment piece as well. So, one quick second, everybody. Oh, I just got rid of the whole thing. Here we go. Oh gosh. Sorry, everyone. Okay. I know. Hold on one second. I had a little technical difficulty here. Just have to pull my presentation back up for all of you. I apologize. You're getting a glimpse of the back end of our system here.
Hey, Christy, can you hear the event assistance?
Okay, hold on one second.
Where's the ball? Oh, where's the ball? All right. Where'd the red ball go?
Forgive me, everyone. I apologize. Event Hub is a new tool for me, so I'm just trying to get back in here.
Christy, this is Julie. Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? Awesome. Thank you, Rich.
Can you see my screen okay now? Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna redo the share screen here. Sorry, everybody.
That's okay.
And I'm gonna go ahead and share this one. And I'm just gonna drag this
I think the mute is
over here. Okay, there we go. Okay. Sorry, everyone. So just to give you a sense of kind of the other touchless solutions here is really around that venue, the mobile app experience. What are you providing for people prior to coming to the venue as well? And I think it's just really about understanding the digital game day experience. So whether that's a digital program, I know some people are providing QR codes that people can click so that they don't need to touch any piece of paper or anything in order to have that experience, along with that digital thank you piece. So kind of the next piece, going from that embracing the technology and really empowering your venue audience, is about your team internally embracing the tech stack and how important that is to really, oh geez. Sorry. Oh.
This is usually where I start to sing to buy time for my colleagues.
Okay. Well, I just, now my screen's not sharing again, you guys, I apologize. I'm gonna stop sharing and resharing again. There we go. So I'm going to get into that sales tech stack piece here. So really it's kind of understanding what is in your tech stack today. And I found this stat kind of in preparation for this meeting. And on average, kind of the growth sales teams have 5 applicants in their tech stack. And I thought it'd be really helpful for me to kind of share the tech stack that we use here at Sportsdigita. And you can see here we have we use Salesforce from a marketing automation perspective for Pardot. We use Salesforce from a CRM standpoint. Yeah, it's gone again from the screen. I'm sorry, everybody. Okay. There we go.
You are totally fine, no worries.
Oh my gosh, thanks. I'm just like, shoot, my computer was like, the power for the computer went bye-bye, which is not good. But okay, so looking at kind of our tech stack overall, we use Pardot for marketing automation. We use Salesforce from a CRM perspective. I know there's a number of venue-specific tools that are used, and I think that all of those are pieces in your tech stack, whether it's an event booking software. Our marketing team also utilizes Canva and being able to integrate that into what we're doing from a sales presentation standpoint, along with, of course, our own tool for presenting to people from a virtual perspective. And also, this is something that's been huge for us. We use Gong. It records all of our calls, so we can utilize those calls to train new employees, new staff members when they're coming on board for kind of how to tell our story, how to talk about us and our solutions. And then lastly, really the valuable analytics tool. So I think it's, big picture wise, technology is here to stay. And if you're not embracing the tech stack, you're going to be left behind. And it's just so important to make sure that you're constantly evaluating your tools and then really embracing a way to have them work together, because it is so important for them to work together within your platform, because you don't want to invest in a tool and let it just sit on a shelf. But how can you integrate them to make your team more efficient and effective at securing, more concerts, more events, booking, more bookings. You want your venue to be busy 365 days a year if possible. So it's how are you embracing technology to help make that happen? And I think it's great. Another great stat that I love to share is that right now, only 32% of sellers are actually spending their time selling. That number is shifting. This is, we got this from CSO Insights, but I think, coming out of the pandemic, I guarantee you that this number is going to increase. So they will be spending more time selling because they're embracing technology. They're embracing different virtual solutions. And if you're doing so, then you can be more efficient with your time. And the things that you can automate, you should, and then have these more personalized experiences, whether they be an in-person meeting, a virtual meeting, all of those things, and then hopefully securing more business faster by embracing that. So I'm excited to see a year from now, let's say at the next conference, I'll pull up this stat and let's see where we are next year at this time as far as how much time sellers are actually spending selling, especially because people are truly embracing technology now. So I think kind of leading in here to this, I know we're about almost a half an hour in, but I think the other key is just being flexible. And we have to, if there's anything that we've learned in this time, especially over this last year, it's being flexible with the way we're approaching our business and getting creative with utilizing tools that we have in a lot of different ways. So I think that goes for any industry, but especially the event arena venue space is really embracing the fact that we have to be flexible with understanding that those who are coming to our venue have different comfort levels, right? Some people really are going to need to know a lot of information around what type of safety and cleaning protocols are in place at these venues because they need that to feel comfortable to host their event at your venue. And there'll be varying levels that you're going to be dealing with. And I think it's just really important for all of us to know that we need to be flexible to kind of adjust with our clients and our partners and make sure we're over communicating what we're doing in order to make that happen. So I think that flexible approach in all parts of what we do is really important. And I thought it'd be helpful maybe to share some examples of what we're seeing out there. And a lot of communication is now starting to be shared around kind of that know before you go is what I like to say. So think about, yes, it's questions that they might have kind of leading into coming to an event. So those frequently asked questions, but really informing your fans. Like here's different options for where to park. Here's where you can enter the venue. Here's how we're having maybe phases of entry so that you're not in this huge, massive crowd when you come, or here's what's changed since you last came to our venue. These are the new protocols that exist. These are the new, yes, you can have a clear bag of this size, or you can't have any bag, all of these different things. People need to know that information. So it's kind of just, how can we communicate that ahead of time? And I think, digital communication is key, making sure you're including it in your app, in other pieces of technology that you're using to communicate with your attendees and guests and event, people who are securing their events at your venue. And I think this is another one. I have a good story to share here. I was talking to a friend of mine who's in the event and venue space, and she was at a conference in Las Vegas recently. I'm sure some of you were probably at the same conference, and you may have had the same experience, but I thought it was a good takeaway that she shared with me when we were catching up, that she was at the, everybody knows that these events, there's a cocktail party that happens, and it was a cocktail party by the pool, and, it was this great event going on, and the event was coming to an end. And you all know the first thing you do is shut down the bar first to see, that usually gets people to leave and go to the next spot, to the next bar or the next location. But she told me they shut down the bar and everyone was still just there talking, having a great time, really enjoying being in person with one another because it's been so long since that's happened. I thought it was really an interesting story because she mentioned they didn't stay just for like another 10 minutes after the bars closed. They were there for quite some time. The venue ended up turning the lights off to try to get people to leave. And even when they turned the lights off, that almost made people want to stay longer because I know this is great.
Am I the only one that doesn't hear anything?
Hi. No, I think she reached for her charger and then disappeared. I'm not sure. But why don't we just have a conversation with each other and we'll wait for her to hop back on.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Lisa asked a great question.
Hi.
I was on the WWE and Blue Jays side of the business, but I'm not on that arena side anymore. But I'd be curious to hear if anyone has an answer to that, just about, do we think virtual selling is here to stay?
I kind of think it is. I think at least in the next calendar year, we're not going to have as many site visits in person. We're already seeing people wanting to do kind of a virtual site visit, even for the few things that have come back in the last month. So, we, in full transparency, do use Sportsdigita. I really love the platform, and it is a really, really good tool for us to be able to give people the experience of being here without having to get on a plane and travel, especially as travel budgets don't seem to be returning. So that's kind of my take on it.
This is so embarrassing.
Oh, you're fine, Christy. We were, Brendan and I were just talking about my question with virtual selling, and he was, kind of wondering people's thoughts. So I jumped in.
I'm trying to see if I can enter. Here we go.
We should just go straight to Q&A, I think.
Yeah. Oh, Brendan, you're on mute.
Yeah.
Not sure if she can hear us.
Can you hear me now? Awesome. You guys, come on, technology here. My computer charger died. It wasn't even like the internet, it was my computer charger. I apologize. I think, why don't we go to some Q&A here? I was getting to the end of my little kind of story here was really more around kind of the event flow and the fact that everyone really is going to have to be flexible with what does that new event flow look like and how are we going to get people out of conversation because they don't want to necessarily leave. People are excited to be spending time in person with one another again. So I think it's, that's something that we all need to consider in what our new reality is for our events and things that we're doing. So I apologize for the technical difficulties, and what I'd love to do is dive into some of these questions. It looks like all of you balanced. Thank you, Rachel. How have you balanced technology with the relationship side of the business? That's a great question. I think it's really kind of what I talked about at the very beginning is this combination of establishing a relationship with someone virtually, oftentimes before you've even met with them in person. Or it could be that you met them in person, but it may have been a year ago, or it may be that you met them 2 weeks ago, but they live in a different city. This ability to connect with people via a virtual session is so much more acceptable now. People aren't afraid to jump on a quick video conference, even if they are working from home and they have a baseball hat on and they're casual that day. You know, it's really this ability to kind of have this hybrid model for building your relationships. It's this combination of in-person and that virtual meeting, because the virtual just reinforces. You know, it's funny how many clients these days will even FaceTime me now. So instead of a phone call, they want to FaceTime because they're used to seeing someone on a screen. So I think it's a great question. And it looks like another one just popped in here. Do you think virtual events and meetings are here to stay? I do. I think it'll be, again, sort of this combination, because we've found, I mean, think about this conference alone. People are able to attend from all over the globe. You don't have to necessarily, you know, fly across the country to attend an event anymore. It's sort of this nice kind of combination. But that in-person piece is really powerful, because let's face it, a lot of business is done at the networking sessions, at the events, at the dinners, at the cocktail parties, at other things post-conference, right? So we learn during the day, and then we go network with one another in the evening. And I think that's something that can't be replaced with a virtual communication. So it's really this combination. But I do think that most organizations are really going to be having sort of this combination, whereas maybe they had 1 or 2 large conferences in person that they hosted. Now they may still have those 1 or 2 large conferences in person, but they might complement those with maybe a quarterly virtual event as well to get more engagement with their audience. So I think it's kind of this combination. Any other questions from the group? Just looking to see if anything else pops in here. Kind of while we're waiting for that, I thought it would be helpful just to kind of go through like what were the key takeaways from our conversation today. And it's really kind of these 3 areas. 1, empowering your audience, you know, empowering people to gain more information about hosting an event at your venue or arena. So, or coming and attending as a ticket buyer, how can they create their own experience, and using technology to help provide that experience. So giving them as much information that they can gather on their own in a really easy, efficient way, but then having the right follow-up based on kind of that empowerment. And then also kind of that tech stack piece, really important to leverage your tech stack and make sure that you are really evaluating the technologies that you're using across your departments at a venue. So not necessarily just in one area, that there's there's a sales side of things, there's an operations side, there's multiple departments within any venue. And I think it's evaluating the technology that you're using across departments. Even something as simple as like a Calendly or Chili Piper to book meetings, right? What kind of meeting event booker do you have that you use, and tying those into your other technologies. So just kind of taking a look at your entire tech stack overall. And then lastly, kind of just being flexible and providing different options and offerings for people, regardless of kind of where they're coming from, because everyone's going to be coming from a different comfort level. So really important for us to continue to be flexible. So I know we're kind of going through some Q&A. It looks like another one popped up here. How do you recommend ensuring an organization can successfully implement new technologies into their tech stack? Any best practices? I think, really here it's making sure that you understand kind of what's the purpose behind each of the technology pieces that you have. So, for instance, like, yes, you might have a call recording technology, but are there call recording technology tools that give you even more valuable information? So how can you use that for your own follow-up, right? Go back and listen to your own call is great, but how can you also use it from an internal perspective, from a training standpoint, just as kind of one example. But really kind of looking at implementing new technologies, I think it's a matter of really kind of talking to your team and understand, like, what do you need to be more efficient? How can we help? And really thinking through what some of the solutions are that are out there, because I mean, there are so many new technologies that have come into play in the last 6 to 12 months, and it's going to continue to evolve. And so it's just kind of this ability to understand what's out there, embrace what you have, and make sure you're really finding a key way to provide adoption. So we'll have kind of a monthly, potentially a monthly evaluation of the technology tools, what's working, what's not working, what can we do better, and making sure that you're really enlisting the experts on your own staff to understand the technologies and how they could even work better together. I think that's really important as well. And I know we're almost here to time, so I don't know if there's any other questions that you guys have, and I apologize for the technical difficulties during the session, but excited to have been on with all of you today. And I do have my my contact information, so if you're interested in connecting with me specifically, please feel free to reach out to me. You can see my number there, but I'll also send a follow-up of this presentation out to the group. If you've attended the session, I'll work to get this out to you. My email is just cgrady@sportsdigita.com. I know there's a link here, but cgrady@sportsdigita.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn, so please feel free to connect with me there too, and I'd be happy to have a conversation with you as well. So you can see it just popped up in the chat there is my email address. So if you'd like to reach out to me, please feel free to do so. And, I think I'll give maybe 5 minutes back in your day to everyone, and really appreciate you guys jumping on, and thanks so much for joining the session.
Thank you.
Oh, I just saw another question pop up. I'd be happy to answer. So let's see, what categories of business would you say Sportsdigita works well with? We use it for meeting spaces and sponsorships and are hoping to use it to sell more premium seating for events. Would you say it works well for other areas too? Yes. So it's interesting. Good question. I think, we see this from a venue space being used in these areas that you're talking about, sponsorship, premium, ticketing, but also for another use case would be training your part-time staff. Like, what kind of information is helpful for part-time staff to learn more about, like, what is to be expected. So in the golf space, we have people using this to educate their volunteers because they have a big volunteer space. And I think that carries over really well to the venue and arena space as far as internal, from a staffing perspective, but also for training purposes. How can you reinforce maybe training that you've done? Because it doesn't have to be all external communication. It's thinking about, 30-second video content maybe that you've put together on some best practices, or we've been talking about embracing technology and new technologies being put in place. So including kind of how-tos on the different technology pieces that you have that you want the team to use, and summarizing that information all housed within your DigiDeck. So I think it's really thinking about not only external use cases and external facing information, but those internal use cases. And that's something that we've seen people do a lot more, especially, in the last year. It was, hey, we are using this platform for sponsorship, but what else can we do? And all of these other things, just general C-level presentations for a lot of our organizations. Like, their C-level execs are presenting at community events and other things. And this is just a way to communicate just general information about the event and venue space. Going to conferences, presenting there, but also just in general, other people at the organization who might have presentations that aren't necessarily sales or event related, but just in general, how can they tell the story of the power of the venue, the impact that it's making on the community, all of those different things. So great question, Lisa. Thank you. I think it looks like we're that was a good question to end on, and I really appreciate everyone jumping in. It looks like we just have 3 minutes left. So unless there's other questions that pop up, please feel free to reach out to me, connect. And I'm looking forward to attending some sessions tomorrow for the conference, and really thank you again for allowing me to participate. So thanks everybody.